Chapter 8, Political Parties. Unit 3 is all about linkage institutions, and we are looking at political parties. A political party is a group of citizens who organize to win elections, hold public offices, operate the government, and determine public policy. Another definition that is similar but slightly different is a political party is a group of political activists who organize to win elections, to operate the government, and determine public policy. Political parties and interest groups different. Well, a political party nominates candidates, contests elections, and seeks to gain control over the government. Where an interest group is just looking to seek to support public officials and influence public policies. A political party is responsible for having positions on a wide range of public issues, where an interest group focuses on a specific issue that directly affects their members. Political parties are public organizations that are accountable to the voters, where an interest group is a private organization that are only accountable to their members. Here are 5 functions of political parties. The first one, recruiting and nominating candidates for public office. By attracting quality candidates, the party enhances its chance of winning the elected position and controlling that portion of the government. Running political campaigns. It is technically a government responsibility, but the parties mobilize citizens to vote and participate. Articulating positions on issues. Critiquing the policies of the party in power. Serving as the linking institution that connects citizens to government by providing information to voters about candidates, mobilizing voters to elect party candidates, and raising funds to support party candidates. Here are 5 functions of political parties. The first one, recruiting and nominating candidates for public office. By attracting quality candidates, the party enhances its chance of winning the elected position and controlling that portion of the government. Running political campaigns. It is technically a government responsibility, but the parties mobilize citizens to vote and participate. Articulating positions on issues. Critiquing the policies of the party in power. Serving as the linking institution that connects citizens to government by providing information to voters about candidates, mobilizing voters to elect party candidates, and raising funds to support party candidates. Different countries have different types of party systems. We have the one-party system, and this is in China, North Korea, and Iran. And this is when a political system in which one party exercises total control over the government. We have the multi-party system, where a political system in which a number of political parties compete for political office. This is evident in France, Italy, and Israel. And we, in the United States, have a two-party system. This is where a political system in which 2 major political parties compete for control of public offices. So why do we have a 2-party system in the United States? We have a strong consensus on core political values. In some of the other countries with multi-party systems, there's some radical ideas. And most Americans identify themselves as moderates who hold beliefs that fall between the liberal and conservative views. So why does this 2-party system seem to last over the years? Well, almost all the American elections are held in a single-member district in which only one candidate is elected to the office. The candidate who receives the most votes is the winner. Where in a proportional representation, each party is awarded legislative seats in proportion to the vote it receives. An example, there are 10 seats available. A party receives 20% of the vote. You are not voting for candidates, you are voting for that political party. If they receive 20% of the seats, they would be awarded 2 seats. Now in our system, where the winner-take-all system, 0 seats would be awarded. This makes it difficult for new parties to emerge, and it preserves the two-party system. There are legal barriers to third parties. They're not automatically placed on a ballot, just like the Democrats and Republicans are. So you may be thinking, why don't we change this system? Well, who would change it? The Democrats and the Republicans. Why would they want to devalue their power? As long as the Democrats and Republicans are in power at the state and national level, they will continue to pass laws which favor the two-party system, and will pass laws making it difficult for new parties to develop. Although we may be a two-party system, minor parties are allowed to participate. It is important to have minor parties because they express strong views on controversial issues. Often, these are adopted by the major parties. They bring up topics that the major parties may not want to address. And sometimes, minor parties they play a spoiler role. An example would be in the 2000 election when Ralph Nader ran on the Green Party ticket, and in some states he took some votes away from Al Gore. And it hurt his chances of winning the presidency in 2000, giving the edge to George W. Bush. Obstacles to minor party candidates. So what are the chances that we have a president that is from a minor party? Pretty rare. The winner-take-all format of the Electoral College makes it very difficult for minor party candidates to win the presidency. An example here is Ross Perot won 19% of the vote in 1992 in the presidential race. But this Texas man did not receive a single electoral vote. Another major problem that the minor party candidates face is that they're not on presidential debates. Sometimes they're left off television. Here are some examples of some minor parties. These minor parties are organized around a single issue. The Free Soil Party opposed slavery. The Know Nothings opposed Irish Catholic immigrants. And the Right to Life Party, and you guessed it, they opposed abortion. The first political parties that formed were the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans. In 1796, the first presidential race after George Washington was done was between John Adams, and he defeated Jefferson by only 3 electoral college votes. In 1800, Jefferson then beat Adams in the election, and this signaled the death of the Federalist Party. And by 1828, the Democratic Republicans had split into the Whigs. In 1824, we had an odd election. Andrew Jackson won the popular vote and electoral college vote, but lost the election. He lost the election because he did not have a majority. And if you do not have a majority, it goes to the House of Representatives. Each state had 1 vote. And the House selected yours truly, John Quincy Adams. From 1828 to 1856, the Democrats controlled the White House. This was led by Andrew Jackson. People loved him and they hated him. He supported voting rights for all white males. What a thought. He used the spoils system to reward party loyalties. So if you were a fan of him, he was a fan of you, you got a job. The Democrats were only challenged twice. The Whigs at this time challenged in 1840 and won, and that was William Henry Harrison, and in 1848, Zachary Taylor. The Whigs supported high tariffs and a national bank. The Whigs were headed by Henry Clay and Daniel Webster. You may not know much about the Whigs, but it later became known as the Republican Party. We have the Republican era from 1860 to 1928. And the large thing that the Republican stance was on was slavery. It dominated American politics, and it split the Democrats and led to the demise of the Whigs. And the Republican Party was led by yours truly, Abraham Lincoln. And in 1860, there was a critical election because this was all about the slavery issue. Republicans elected Lincoln, thus becoming the only party in American history to make the transition from minor party to major party. And there was a shift. The Democrats were now located in the South, and they became known as the Solid South, remained a fixture of American politics for the next 100 years. Do the Democrats still control the South? FDR and the New Deal Coalition from 1932 to 1964. The Great Depression marked an abrupt end to the era of Republican domination, and FDR took over. The Democrats advocated a program of relief, recovery, and reform known as the New Deal. The New Deal Coalition included the following groups: labor unions, Southerners, African Americans. A major realignment occurred during this time. The Republican or the African Americans shifted from the Republicans to the Democratic Party. It seems like a major event can always sway one party or the other from controlling the White House. You have the Great Depression, issues like slavery, and now we have Vietnam. Richard Nixon. Republicans adopted a Southern strategy. And Richard Nixon attacked the South, trying to get their vote. This election marked the beginning of a new pattern of government called divided government. This is the first time in the 20th century a newly elected president moved into the White House while the opposition party controlled both houses of Congress. That means divided government. You will need to know this. We have a Republican president and a Democratic House of Representatives and a Democratic Senate. Divided government. And since 1969 to 2010, the party has controlled the presidency and both houses of Congress for just 12 years. So think about that. Up till 1968, it was the norm. From 1969 to today, it has only occurred for 12 years. The reason we are seeing so much divided government since 1968, people less identify themselves as a Democrat or a Republican. And as education levels increase, people are more likely to vote for Republicans. Mechanisms of political change. Realignment. A process in which a substantial group of voters switches party alliances, producing a long-term change in the political landscape. An example would be occurred in 1932 after the country experienced the Great Depression. Some people were fed up with the trickle-down economic theories of Herbert Hoover, and the public turned to the New Deal of FDR. De-alignment. Some people argue that realignment has been replaced by de-alignment, which is a major drop-off of support from the parties. Independent voters The number of independent voters has grown steadily since the 1930s. Split ticket voting is more common now than ever before. However, most independent voters still typically prefer one or the other political party. People typically vote for a Republican or a Democrat, even if they are not aligned with that political party. The number of true independents is right around 10% of the voters. Then we have tipping. Political transformation can also result from changes in the composition of the electorate or the voter. An example would be if one ethnic group moves in and it can tip a state from one party to the other. In Massachusetts, for example, in 1928, the Democratic Irish finally outnumbered the Republican Yankees. California, are they tipping right now? The state appears to have recently tipped to the Democrats as it became the third state in which non-Hispanics, whites, do not make up a majority of the population. Of course, the Hispanics and African Americans both tend to vote Democrat.